And so after I was diagnosed, I had several. That there's many opportunistic infections that people with AIDS get. There's about 29 or 30 of them, and I got the pneumonia again. I got a blood infection. I was just constantly sick the whole first few years. And as I told you before, I didn't tell my son when I first found out because of this trauma and the stigma, and only my mom knew and a few relatives and a few of my friends. I was tried to remain working for 2 years, but that was hard and I couldn't do it anymore, and I quit my job. Now at that time my son was 12 years old, and he was not stupid. He said to me, "What's wrong with you? You're always sick. You quit your job." And he was crying, and I said, "Okay, I can't hide this from him anymore," and I had to tell him. So I told him, and of course, he was crying. He was asking me questions I could not answer, and I guess he processed it to whatever he could. I could tell him, because I didn't know what was going to happen either. And he was adamant that he didn't want anyone to know, and that was because of the stigma. HIV is the only disease that has the stigma, that if somebody has HIV, people, especially ignorant people, will think they did something wrong to get it, or they did something bad to get it.
Yeah, right. So the fact that you're a sick person must mean you're a bad person.
Well, at that time, HIV, it's the only disease that has it. I tell somebody I'm HIV or have AIDS. If that person, especially if they're uneducated, they'll be like, "Well, she did something wrong to get that." But if I told the same person I had cancer or MS or whatever, they won't think that. And unfortunately, that stigma that HIV has is what keeps people from getting tested. It's the fear. It's why I didn't get tested right away, because HIV at that time had it was such a scary thing. There was just no hope. And if you saw what was going on TV, the little boy Ryan White.
Yes.
He was a little boy that just wanted to go to school, and they wouldn't let him go to school because they were afraid that he was going to give AIDS to the other children. Meanwhile, they were more dangerous to him. They burnt his house down, and his mom, and they fought, and they got him back in school. And he's one of my heroes because
I remember
he's brave. Yes, he was very brave. Unfortunately, he passed away in 1990, but. Now they have a CARE Act named after him, where they use federal funding for emergency for people that don't have not Medicaid eligible and don't have insurance. Mm-hmm. It's called Ryan White funding. It's named after him.
And it pays for medication.
It pays, yes, for people that don't have not Medicaid eligible and don't have insurance if they have HIV or AIDS. Yeah, it's emergency funding from the government. Yeah, so that CARE Act was named after him. They started it several years after he passed away. But he's definitely one of my heroes, and he's a perfect example of stigma, HIV stigma, what they did to him. Yeah.
Sure. But you were talking about your health and that you had been sick, and then you had been you told your son about it.
Yes, I did, and he didn't want anybody to know, because even though he didn't have it, I was infected 5 years after he was born. Mm-hmm. He probably, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, he doesn't want anyone to know because nobody's going to want to come to the house. Nobody's going to want to...
He loses friends.
Loses friends, exactly. And he was only 12 years old. So I respected his wishes. I didn't tell anybody. He said, "I don't want the teacher to know either." I didn't tell his teacher. I didn't tell anybody. But meanwhile, a very smart child was started to do bad in school. A child that was not overweight started to become overweight. Guidance counselors calling me up, "What's going on?" I just said to her, "Listen," I said, "I have serious health problems, and it's affecting, it's affecting his home life." That's all I told her. So in 1996, when I did get very, very sick, he was 16 years old, and it was just a bit too much for him. He missed a lot of school, and he dropped out of school because I guess he thought he was going to die. Obviously I didn't die, and right around that time is when the new medications came out.
The cocktails.
Yeah, it's called highly active antiretroviral therapy, or HAART. It's a combination therapy because they realized that taking one medication such as AZT or DDI, whatever was around back in the early days, was not working. So a very smart doctor named Dr. David Ho discovered that if you an HIV patient takes a combination therapy of 3 or 4 medications that will stop the replication of the virus, not cure you, but stop the replication of the virus. That way it gives your immune system a chance to build up again, and that's how they work. But the medications are very toxic, they're expensive, and you have to take them right. If you don't take them right, which means every single day, if you don't take the medications right, you will become resistant and they won't work for you anymore. So that's what I like to tell people, that it's not just a matter of just popping a couple pills a day. It's serious medication, and you got to be adherent with it.
And you got to stay on top of it.
You got to stay on it. You can't be like, well, I'm going away this week and I don't feel like thinking about HIV. I don't want to take my medication, so I'll leave it home. You can't do that. And you guys are supposed to take it every day at the same time. You don't want it to get out of the body.
And these were developed in the late 90s?
In the mid-90s.
Mid-90s?
Yes. They came out for use in the mid-90s, yes.
I don't remember if I had heard about this in the media through Magic Johnson or not.
Well, Magic Johnson came out with his virus announcement in 1991, and they still were not out yet. A lot of people think that he has access to different and better medications. He doesn't. He takes the same medications that everybody else takes, and
Really?
Magic Johnson does not have AIDS. He's HIV positive. Okay, he does not have an AIDS diagnosis. He's never been sick. And what an AIDS diagnosis simply means is the person's T cell count, a healthy T cell count is between 800 and 1500. When the person's T cell count drops below 200, and or they're having opportunistic infection going on, then they have an AIDS diagnosis. Now, back in the day, that's how people got disability. It was very easy. I had no trouble getting it because I had an AIDS diagnosis and I was sick. Now, it's very hard to get it. Even with having an AIDS diagnosis, you have to be...
Won't get you on disability.
No, you have to be physically
disabled.
sick to get out of bed and
you
work.
have to demonstrate that you're not able to work.
Exactly. But back 25 years ago, they gave it to you just for being HIV positive. They do not do that anymore.
So has the treatment progressed, or is it pretty much that treatment?
The treatments have progressed, yes. They started out with a handful of things, but over the years now they have gotten more medications that are less toxic. They've combined drugs in one pill, so that way it makes it easier for people to take instead of having to take 5 or 10 pills a day. Maybe they have, like now, a lot of patients just take one pill. There's 3 drugs in one pill. It makes it a lot easier to be adherent. And the medications, if taken correctly, they do work very well. The goal is to get your viral load undetectable. The viral load is when you get your blood work done, is what's measured in your blood, the copies of HIV in that vial of blood. Now, if the copies of HIV are under 20 copies, you're undetectable, which doesn't mean you're cured, but it's a good sign, because when you are undetectable, that allows your immune system to get weakened, to get stronger, And also, if you are undetectable, there's less of a chance of you transmitting the virus to somebody else. Not 100%, but less of a chance.
I see.
So that's the goal, to get undetectable, so that way your T cells go up. You want your viral load down and your T cells up.
I see. And does insurance typically cover the medications?
Medicaid covers it. Most private insurance covers it, and if you're a person that unfortunately doesn't have Medicaid or doesn't have private insurance, there's AIDS Drug Assistance Program, which is run through the state, and they will pay for your drugs as long as you don't make over $47,000 a year.
Okay.
So we're very fortunate in this country. Everybody has access to medications, whereas in third world countries they don't have these programs, and that's why they're still dying.
Okay. And how do you think American society has progressed? I'm sure it's progressed some in terms of stigma and the perceptions of the people with the virus, and people being able to talk about it. Do you feel the stigma is still the same, or do you feel it's changed?
I feel like it's still there, but maybe it's gotten a little better. I don't know that it's ever going to go away. I feel like more people are not as afraid to come out with it anymore as back maybe 20 years ago. But it's still there. It's still there. I'm trying to think of... I've been very fortunate where I haven't really experienced too much of it myself personally.
And it's kind of interwoven with your job. It's really part of your job, is talking about it.
Well, I tell people when I do my testimony, I tell them how I got it, because I want people to realize that you don't have to be a certain type of, whatever they're thinking, an IV drug user, or a gay man, a prostitute, promiscuous. I'm none of those things.
Anyone can get it.
Anyone can get it, exactly. It's a human virus. If you put yourself at risk and you have unprotected sex with one person that has HIV, and you don't know their status, you cannot tell by looking at people. There's so many things that people need to know about this that they still don't understand. They just think, this is not going to happen to me. I didn't think it was going to happen to me, and it did.
Right. So what forms of birth control prevent HIV? Do all condoms? To spermicide?
No, birth control, only condoms is the only thing that prevents HIV.
So spermicide doesn't kill it?
No. Actually, they were using the Noxol 9 several years back in women, and they were finding that it was causing them to get infected because it was irritating them inside their vaginas. And if you have any kind of thing going on down there, suppose you have another STI going on, like with any kind of open sore, that will make you more susceptible to getting HIV.
Right. So it kind of provides a conduit.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. So the only thing to prevent HIV is condoms, which is not 100%. The only thing that I'm going to tell you, and I know people have heard it before, the only thing that is 100% is abstinence. It's the only thing.
Okay. But condoms.
If you use condoms correctly, like 98% chance of not getting it. And people now that are undetectable have partners. I have a partner who is negative, and we use condoms every time, and there's no problem, because you have to be safer. You have to be safe, with everything.
Okay. And what do you feel needs to change, either in the medical community or in society in general, or in parts of society? What do you think still needs to change?
I would like to see more awareness about it, because it's still needed. You very rarely see public service announcements for it anymore, as you used to. But people kind of think that it's gone away, and it's just as bad or worse as as I saw on a CDC website the other day. 6,000 people a day globally are still being infected. A day. That's a lot of people.
Now, the other day you were talking about statistics on Long Island.
Yes, that's
Can you
true.
talk a little bit about that?
Okay, so when we do our testimony and we talk about statistics, we talk about Nassau and Suffolk County as being a suburban area. And of course, the city has more infection rate. New York State has the highest infection rate of all the states in the country. Of all the suburban areas in the country, Nassau and Suffolk County, which is considered a suburban area, has the highest HIV suburban rate.
In the country?
In the country. Of all the suburban areas, yes.
Wow.
Highest, yes. So that's why...
So there's still work to be done.
There's a lot of work to be done, yes. A lot of work to be done.
Wow. And what do you see as your mission and your life going forward?
I feel like I'm just very blessed that I'm still here, because I didn't think I was going to see 40 years old, and I'm 56 now, and I know why God's keeping me here. A lot of people can't do what I do. They can't go out and put their face out in front of a camera like this and say, I have AIDS, I'm HIV positive. They can't or won't do it, and I can understand that. They don't have to. But I can do it, and I wanted to do it so that what happened to me doesn't happen to other people. And I've spoken to hundreds and hundreds of people. I've been doing this since 1998.
Wow.
I've spoken to everything from middle school to senior citizens. And I'm going to keep doing it until I can't no longer, until better yet, there's a cure.
That's great. Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome, David.